As touched upon previously in the agenda, we are very fortunate to have a guest speaker with us today. Let's now welcome Mr. Mark Cheng, Senior Advisor of Ashoka. Ashoka is a global organization that aims to build and cultivate a community of leaders so that they are empowered to support change-making for the good of society. If anyone at any point has any questions for Mr. Cheng about his presentation or anything else that is germane, please private message me on Zoom and we will get to them after Mr. Cheng's presentation if time permits.
我哋今日邀請咗 Ashoka 嘅鄭雄先生為我哋分享 Ashoka 係目前全球規模最大嘅跨國社企聯繫支援組織，致力支持同埋培育社會嘅創變者。鄭先生有請。
Okay, great. Thank you so much to Alpha and team for introducing me. Thank you to Kids4Kids for inviting me to come and present to you this morning. And welcome to all the teams. I am so excited for you. You are about to embark on an extraordinary and fun journey of change making. And I couldn't be more excited for all of you and for your mentors as well who are joining today as part of this. So a quick little bit of background. So I represent an organization called Ashoka, which is a global organization of change maker leaders around the world. So we work in about 90 countries, and our mission, our goal is to find great leaders who are empowering people, especially young people, to become change makers, to go and become leaders and entrepreneurs in their community, and to begin to make a difference in the lives of those around them. And Kids4Kids and AFAC and the program that you're now embarking on is absolutely at the heart of this. Over the last few years, we've worked with hundreds of organizations around the world. I personally have been privileged to meet and work with and mentor many brilliant young people all over the world. And what I can share with you today is that the journey that you are on as Hong Kong young change makers is absolutely something which is being taken part of all over the world. There are kids who are working in Bali, in cleaning the beaches there. There are young people in Indonesia who are working in their local communities, helping to teach education and literacy to those who cannot afford. There are young inventors in Europe and in the United States who are coming up with their own solutions for fighting climate change, or for planting trees, or for cleaning the oceans even. So really, young change making is a global movement, and it's one of the most exciting things that we are witnessing in this time is young people learning that you can do this at any age. You don't have to wait until you graduate in order to take a project that involves a passion that you have and use it to make change. So this is really an extraordinary time to be doing this, because we now know that young people can do this and that we can help young people to do this as well. I just want to quickly share with you a story about how I first got involved and learned to appreciate the power of young change makers. And it was about 10 years ago. And I had just started a mentoring program, which was connecting with young people and learning how to support them and help them. And one of the young people that I met was a young English student who named Luke Doudney, who was living in Brazil at that time. And he was working in Rio de Janeiro, one of the big cities of Brazil. And Luke was running a study project. And then one day, he was shocked to learn that his best friend was badly injured in a street fight. Okay. And so he rushed to hospital. He met his friend and started to talk to him about what had happened. And what he learned was that there were hundreds of young people who basically were hanging out on the streets, and very often they would get into trouble. They would get into trouble with gangs. They would get into trouble with bad elements. And then Luke was curious in the question of why this was. What could he do about it? And one of the things he learned was that a lot of the young people said that they were very bored. and they didn't have much to do, and this environment around them wasn't safe, and they didn't feel safe. And Luke remembered a conversation that he had had with some young people who were just hanging out on the street. And he himself was an amateur boxer. He loved to do boxing and he loved martial arts. And he remembers how he was able to connect with a group of friends through his love of boxing. And so he came up with the idea of launching his own boxing academy and gym that would be put in one of these favelas where there were lots of young people who didn't have any options, who didn't have anything they could do. And it was very brave of him to do this. He was very young at the time. I think he was only 18. And he decided deliberately to create a gym in one of the most rundown areas of Brazil, a street corner that nobody would normally want to go to, right? But where there were a lot of young people who were struggling. And he called his gym Fight for Peace. And the idea was that you would learn to come into the gym, you would have all these lessons for free, and you would learn about how to be safe, how to keep yourself safe, how to keep your friends safe, how to be strong, and how to stay out of trouble. So this became a very popular gym. And soon there were dozens, and then hundreds, and then thousands of young people who were signing up to join. And it became a internationally recognized organization, which has now spread to the UK, to South Africa, and to many other countries since then, and has helped thousands of young people through the simple love of boxing and martial arts that Luke had as a young person. And when I heard Luke's story, it really moved me because what it showed me was that Luke and hundreds of people like Luke can make such a difference in their communities. They can make such a difference to the lives of the young people around them, to their friends, to their families, to the people that they care about, and that they can do this at any age. He was only 18 when he started. There are young people younger than that. There are people at your age, 13, 14 even, who take some small action to begin and launch their own projects to support people. And that's what Action for a Cause, of course, is all about. It's about helping you to do that for yourself. So I've been very inspired by meeting people like Luke. I've been very personally inspired by meeting people like yourselves coming on and launching the projects that you're going to be working on today and beyond. And I've had the privilege over many years now of watching how young people succeed, how they come up with an idea, how they take that idea and launch a project, and how they work over weeks and months to make that project into a success, and help the people around them. And there are 5 little tips that I thought I might share with you today on what I've observed about how people have been able to make the best use of their time, and what really helps people. And so what I want to do today is I want to share with you 5 little tips on what I think would really make a difference and help you as you launch your projects and think about it and go forward. And so have a think about each of these and see whether you can incorporate these ideas into your own work and your projects. So the first one is have a think about what kind of impact you want your project to achieve and how you would measure that, okay? Because this is going to really help guide you as you come up with different ideas and plans for how you want to implement what you do. It's very helpful to have a sense on what success might mean, okay? So what would success look like for your project? And how would you know that you are succeeding? Okay, so one of the ways of doing this might be to come up with something that you can measure, something that you could point to and say, today or this week, we helped 5 young people learn English better. Or today we helped 5 elderly people with their shopping or whatever it might be. So whatever your project is, have a think about how would you measure success and how would you convey that to other people to let them know what you've done and what you've achieved. So for example, Luke, when he was launching his boxing academy, you know, one of the things that he was measuring was how many young people would want to come in and take a free lesson in how to learn to fight and how to learn to be safe. And so they were measuring that, how many people felt more confident as a result of doing that. But what Luke did was when what he was really doing was he was trying to help young people feel that they had more options than just simply to hang around in the street and get into trouble. And so what he also asked them was, how much trouble did you get into this year? You know, were you able to stay away from fights? Were you able to, not get involved with any kind of gangs or anything like that? And so what he was able to do was to measure not only the number of people who came and enjoyed a free lesson, but also the number of people who said, yes, as a result of this, my life has less violence. I'm less involved in trouble. I haven't been involved in a fight, you know, for a year or more. And by measuring that, that was really able to demonstrate that he was making a change in the lives of those people. So have a think, that's my first tip. Have a think about how you might measure what success means for you and come up with something that you can track. My second tip is whenever you're launching a venture of any kind, a new project, you're trying to help someone. There's a group of people that you want to help, right? And so it's very, very important to put yourself in the shoes of the person that you are trying to help and look at everything from their eyes, right? So because it's only by doing that that you can really understand the problems that they face and how best to help them, right? So, for example, if you're trying to work with, kids from a certain community, for example, and you want to run a workshop or something that's going to help teach them a skill, right? You have to work out what is their daily life like. What is the best time of day for them to have the lesson or to participate in the workshop, right? Maybe they have to leave school early. Maybe they have to go home because there's things they have to do at home. Maybe the best time for them to do it is in the lunch break, and they can only do it at school, and you have to go and organize a little school group to meet in a classroom or to meet in a school hall, right? Think about what are the kind of pressures that people face? What are the kind of challenges that they face? And the way you do it is you ask them that question, you know, when would you like to have your lesson in English? Would you like to have it here or over there? Should I meet you in a cafe, or would you like to do it online on Zoom, right? Why would you prefer to do it online? Is that because there's a certain time you just can't travel? You can't take the bus and meet us, you know, in order to have the workshop or whatever it might be, right? So always think about who you're trying to help, and then think about what the experience is that you're trying to give to them, and then think about what would be the best way to deliver that experience. And always do that by asking questions. Ask them what they want. What is the best time for you to meet? What's the best, you know, how long should this workshop be? Can you only do 1 hour? Can you do more? And so on, right? So lots of questions, but you always want to put yourself in the shoes of the person you're trying to help, because that's the most powerful way to really improve your project and your venture, and therefore to get as many people to come and join you as possible. So the first tip was think about how you measure your impact. My second tip is put yourself in the shoes of the customer, put yourself in the shoes of the person you're trying to help. And then my third bit of advice is really a general bit of life advice. And this goes not just into creating and running your venture, but really into everything that you do. And it's a way of thinking about work. And my third piece of advice is, remember, there is no such thing as failure. There is only learning, okay? There is no such thing as failure. There is only learning. So what I mean by that is that in life, what you do is not something that you do once and then it's over, right? You may run that workshop for those kids, but then you'll do it again, and you'll do it again. And each time you'll learn something more. So if you approach everything you do with the mindset of what can I learn from what I'm about to achieve, what I'm about to do, right? I'm about to run a workshop, or I'm about to go and try and clean this beach, or I'm about to go and try and speak to those elderly people and help them or whatever it might be, right? Okay, maybe it will go really, really well, and I hope it will, right? But very often something will happen that that might surprise you. Okay, maybe you wanted to run a workshop, but guess what? No one turned up. Okay, and you're surprised, and that feels like failure. Okay, well, it's not a failure. It's not a failure if you learn from it, right? You know, and so the question is always to ask yourself the question: what happened that I can learn from to improve my experience for next time? Okay, maybe you wanted to get a group together, and then no one turned up. And then when you ask the question why, it's because the classroom where people were supposed to meet is too far away, and it was just too busy, and there was a traffic jam, and so on, right? And so now you know for next time, I've got to do this in the city center, or maybe the first meeting's got to be online because people can only want to dial in. Okay, so whatever is the lesson, if you learn from the lesson, nothing is a failure. You can always improve. And that's actually what you have to do every single time to get better and better at what you do. So think of yourself as running a series of experiments to get better at what you're doing and to improve. And then what you'll find is that everything that surprises you will actually make you stronger, right? And life will always turn out different from what you expect. So many of you are going to be doing pitches this afternoon and developing those over time. And that's great, but just remember the pitch is only the beginning, right? Once you start the project, then you're into the learning, and that's where the fun begins, because nothing ever turns out exactly the way you planned. Okay, so don't worry about that. That's how life works. What you have to do is you have to try something, see what surprises you, and then work out how to make it better. And then keep doing that again and again. And if you do that, I promise you, I guarantee you, your projects will just get better and better. And so there's no such thing as failure. There is only learning, and there's only experimentation. Think of yourself as running a series of experiments. And then two final tips and suggestions for how to have a great experience. You have mentors who are going to be helping you over the next few weeks and months, right? And they are a fantastic resource. So please feel free to use as much of your mentors as possible for advice, ask for help, ask them what they think, and really tap into their experience. Now, the mentors will never tell you what to do. Okay, that's not what this is about. But what they will do is, if they'll give you their candid opinion on what might be good things to do, what are the pros and cons of different options that you might be thinking about. And so they can be a great resource and support. And so don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help for people who aren't mentors, because you're doing a social project, which is going to do good for people around you. You will be surprised at how many people will want to help you. Parents, teachers, friends, okay? So don't be afraid to go and ask for help. Oh, can we borrow the classroom? Can we use that resource? Can we borrow some equipment? Can you help make some recommendations for us so that we can go and meet with so-and-so, or talk to these people, or distribute our material, or whatever it might be, right? There's going to be a lot of people who really want to help you succeed. And so never feel that you're doing it by yourself. Never feel that you have to do it by yourself. The community is here for you as well, right? It starts with your mentors, but it goes way beyond that. Parents, teachers, friends, right? And so feel free to constantly work out who your allies are, and build on that, and together they will carry you forward, right? And so that's my fourth piece of advice. And my final piece of advice is enjoy the process. This is supposed to be fun. It will be life-changing, I promise you. And AFAC is really just the beginning of a lifetime's journey of being a change maker, right? Once you've had the experience of doing this, you will have so many skills. You will have such a great insight into how you can mobilize people to take action to support something that you care about and make a difference in their lives and in your life. And this is supposed to be a fun process. This is not like school where you are, doing exams and it has to be done. This is something much more, much deeper around that process. And so it should be enjoyable for you. It should be great to be working with friends in order to do something which is going to be exciting and make a difference. And remember, there is no failure from doing this. Just by taking action already, you have already won. Okay, so this is going to be, I hope, the start of a lifetime of adventure and change making for all of you. And it's going to be a great process. We've seen many young people come do this and learn from this, and they're still doing great work and continuing that for the rest of their lives. So I'm so proud of each of you for stepping onto this journey. I'm excited to see where you're going to go next with this, and I look forward to staying in touch and working with the team and watching all of your projects flourish over the coming weeks and months. So welcome to it, enjoy the process, and have a great amount of fun today and in the process going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think we have time for 1 to 2 questions. So one of the questions that was sent to me was regarding your first tip of how exactly to kind of make your impact measurable. So the question is, how can we make sure that the quantity that we decide on measuring isn't too small and hence restricting, or too large and hence unattainable?
Right, yes. I think that you're going to have to spend some time thinking about how to do this, right? Because exactly as the questioner said, you want to find the right balance, okay, in terms of how to measure it. Not too much, not too little, not too detailed, not too simple to do it. And I think the answer is you have to feel your way forward into doing it. But let me just give you a couple of ideas. I mean, one of the things you could do is just simply measure for the people that you're working with, the people that you want to help, give them a little survey before the experience and after the experience. So let's supposing that, I don't know, maybe you want to teach an elderly person how to use a smartphone, okay, who's never done it before, okay. What you could do is you could give them a little questionnaire and say, to what extent have you used a technology like this before? How comfortable do you feel on a scale of 1 to 5, right? Maybe they might say, I've never used a smartphone before, to 1. And then after a couple of lessons with you, maybe they're now using an app. Maybe they use WhatsApp for the first time. And so now they've increased to a 4. And so if you could just measure simple things like that, it doesn't have to be too complicated. You will be able to say, we worked with 10 elderly people and they went from a level of confidence of 1 up to 5. They're now using FaceTime, okay, or whatever it might be. So it doesn't have to be too complex, but anything that you can do that can show progress will help you. And it will also help the people that you want to explain the power and the impact of what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve might be. So hopefully that gives you, 1 or 2 ideas. But, I think we can run some workshops later on and talk more about that. It's an important part of this work.
Great, thank you very much. I think we have time for 1 last question. So do you have any tips for scaling impact, and in particular, perhaps of taking advantage of other people and resources around you? How exactly can we appeal to people and present ourselves to people to make them want to help us as much as possible?
Okay, well, what will really help in your favor is the fact that you are doing something with a social purpose, right? And this means that you stand out from people who are just trying to run a business to make money, for example, right? You have a social cause that you are doing, and everyone recognizes that you are trying to do good. And when people see that you're trying to do good, they want to help, okay? There's no harm in asking for help. Oh, we want to help these elderly people. We want to help these kids, right? Could you give us 20 minutes of your time to do this, or lend us the use of the classroom, or whatever it might be? So don't be afraid to ask for help. Just by putting out what it is, who you are trying to help and what you are trying to achieve, you will surprise yourself with how much people recognize that, and they will want to help you. Okay, so explain your goal and explain why you're trying to do what you're trying to do, and explain the impact, if you can, of what will happen, and then doors will open for you. And I think that's the best way of doing it, is to explain what you're trying to achieve and what the impact is, and then you will be able to ask for help.